Okay, here's the second video installment for my Upward Bound students at West Virginia State University on psychological theories. This should be the last slide that you saw. We were talking about functionalism, moving away from the idea of merely identifying what conscious awareness or experience is, more to the idea of trying to figure out why we think the way we do and trying to figure out how thinking helps us feel better and function better. In his landmark book, Principles of Psychology, James studied why thoughts, behaviors, and feelings occur and why they are adaptive. So we're trying to figure out, again, why it is that we think the way that we do in terms of how it helps us to feel and function better. Now I'm going to skip ahead. Don't pay attention to this because I want to get to a certain point here, guys. I want to get right here. I'm going to use... Under functionalism, I'm going to use denial as my example. Denial is a basic psychological defense mechanism that we all use. Denial is, by definition, and you'll want to write this down at this point, it's an unconscious attempt to block emotional pain or trauma. Okay? Again, denial is an unconscious attempt to block emotional pain or trauma. The unconscious part is important there because unconscious means that you're not aware. We're not aware that we're doing something. We do things all the time that we're not aware that we're doing. They're unconscious. So how would a functionalist explain denial? Well, here's how. We could sit here all day and introspect about what denial is and what it means and all that stuff. But how does it help us feel better? I'll give you a great example. God forbid you go home from class and you get the news that your mother, your father, your sibling, your significant other has passed away. Immediately when you hear that news, you're not gonna accept it. You're not gonna be like, oh well, okay, that's cool. Life happens. People die. It's part of life. Go on, go to McDonald's and have a hamburger and go about your day. No, you're probably gonna be in denial for a little while. You're probably gonna be like, no, wait a minute, no, that can't be true. That keeps you from dealing with the emotional pain that's gonna come. People are in denial about a lot of things. People are in denial about relationship statuses. People break up. The person who gets broken up with, often it takes him or her a while to really understand and realize that the relationship is over. Keeps them from having to deal with the pain and heartache of the situation right then and there. So a functionalist would say that we use denial to keep ourselves from experiencing this pain, so we don't have to deal with it. It helps us feeling better about ourselves. So now don't pay attention to any of this. Now, the next theory that I want to talk to you about is called behaviorism. Now, psychology has always strived to be seen as being a legitimate science. Even to this day, people will say that, well, psychology is not really a science, is it? They're just people sitting around talking about problems. Well, no, there's a lot more to psychology than just talking about problems, like we mentioned the first day of class. Now, John Watson and B.F. Skinner were the two pioneers of this third major theory of psychology. The behaviorists came along and they're saying, you know what, all this garbage about thinking and introspection and functionalism, you can't measure it. You can't measure thought processes. There's no way to make that scientific. Even if I'm trying to tell you what I'm thinking, I may lie to you. You would never know that. Or I may misrepresent what I'm thinking. I may be trying to tell you the truth about what I'm thinking, but maybe it comes out wrong. Or maybe you misunderstand. So there's no way to objectively measure thinking, so it can't be science, therefore we have to ignore it. So the behaviorists focus on, guess what? Behaviors. Because behaviors can be measured. I could stand in a room with a clipboard and count the number of times that little Johnny gets up out of his seat during a 1-hour class. I can count. Say he gets up 50 times. That's a lot. And maybe the rest of the students only get up once on average. Then I can say, oh, I have a trend. I can count. Johnny was up 50 times. This is way beyond what you would expect. Maybe it's a problem. So you can measure behaviors. And science should only study the observable according to behaviors. And the behaviors were saying, if psychology is ever going to be seen as a science, then we should only be studying and measuring what we can really observe. So, John Watson and Skinner basically are saying ignore the cognitive processes and focus on the overt behaviors. That way we can make psychology scientific. So that's important to have in your notes as well as everything else you're writing down here. Now, This is really important. We're going to revisit this at some point in the class. But we get the idea of reinforcement and punishment. I'm going to start with reinforcement. I want you to write this down. I'm not going to go super in depth here because when we talk about learning next week, the idea of what we learn and how we learn, I'm going to come back to these concepts and we're going to go more in depth. But for now, understand this. Reinforcement simply refers to this. Here's your definition. Reinforcement involves increasing the chances that a given behavior will occur again. Okay, that's it. Reinforcement by definition involves doing something to increase the chances that a given behavior will occur again. So as a parent, as a teacher, if I want to reinforce your behavior, that means that I want you to repeat whatever it is that you just did. And there are two ways to do this. We can do positive reinforcement and we can go negative reinforcement. Now you have to get the traditional notions of positive and negative out of your minds, because here simply positive means that you're giving something or administering something. Write that down. Negative simply means that you're taking something away. So let's tidy this up. Positive reinforcement simply means, write this down somewhere, that you're giving something to increase the chances that a behavior will happen again. Okay? Again, positive reinforcement simply means that you're giving or administering something to increase the chances that a behavior will happen again. Negative reinforcement simply means that you're taking away something, again, to increase the chances that a behavior will happen again. Okay? Again, negative reinforcement, you're taking something away to increase the chances that a behavior will occur again. In either case, you're wanting to increase the behavior or see it repeated. Let me give you some examples. Okay? Positive reinforcement. I want to give you something to increase your behavior. If I want to positively reinforce class attendance, easy way to do that. I saw that I had everybody in class today, which I really did. If I want to positively reinforce your attendance, I could give you something. I could give you money. I could give you $50 for every class you attend. I could give you candy like I did this morning. That would increase the chances that you would come back to class tomorrow, and so forth and so forth. If I gave you $500, which I'm not going to do, for every class you attend, I would be willing to bet that most people would be coming back to class. That's positive reinforcement. Okay. Now, I could go negative reinforcement. Same situation, keeping it simple. I want to reinforce class attendance. Now, negative reinforcement's not punishment. Okay. I still want to increase the chances that you're going to come back to class. So what I could do is take away something, but it would have to be something that you don't like. For example, I might say, all right, class, if I have perfect attendance this week, then I will take away the first exam. That would increase the chances that you would come to class. Because negative, again, I'm taking away something. But I'm taking away something that you don't like. So in essence, it's a good thing. It's something to work for. Okay? So I'm removing an exam to increase the chances that you'll come to class. Punishment, on the other hand, new slide, it's the opposite of reinforcement. Okay? Here what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to decrease the chances that a behavior will happen again. So again, punishment, we want to decrease the chances that a behavior will happen again. Your parents have probably done this to you as well and not realized that they were using a behaviorist theory from psychology. Positive, again, means the same thing. It means you're giving something. Negative, again, means that you're taking something away. So let's put it all together. Okay? Positive punishment. I'm going to give you something to decrease the chances that you'll do a behavior again. If I want to decrease the chances that my child will curse at me, I could give him or her what? I could give him or her a spanking or a scolding. Now, positive, again, doesn't mean good or bad necessarily. It just means that you're giving something. So positive punishment, an example would be spanking a child to decrease the chances that they will curse. Okay? Now, negative punishment, you're removing something, but you're removing something positive that child likes, again, to decrease the behavior. So I'm giving an example. Grounding is a classic example. Your parents have probably taken your phone away at one time or another to decrease the chances that you'll do something. Maybe they don't like the fact that you're staying out past curfew or lying to them. So to decrease the chances that you'll lie, they're going to use negative punishment. They're going to take away something that you like your phone, to decrease the chances that you'll lie again. Make sense? So just understand, I'm going to go back a slide, understand the difference between reinforcement, both positive and negative, and punishment, both positive and negative. And these are behaviors. We can measure this stuff. We can use positive reinforcement in one class and not use positive reinforcement in the next class with attendance. And what I'm going to find, and I can measure this, is that in classes where I give $50 for every class attendance, my attendance is going to be way higher than in my second class where I don't give money for attendance at all. I can measure the difference between the two. That's objective. I can look at that with numbers and say, look what I found. That's what makes psychology scientific, according to the behaviors. Then we get to the fourth theory, which is psychodynamic theory. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this video, this part of this video right here, and then we'll do the last part. So this is the end of the of this installment, of the second installment. Thank you.